Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive.
Glad to be here.
You know how much I love diving into these texts you're exploring, and today is no different.
Oh, I know you love this stuff.
We're looking at the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra, which I know you've been spending some time with.
Yeah, it's really fascinating.
Well, you flagged a technique called concentration on breathing cycles, and I have to admit, my curiosity is piqued.
It's a classic.
It is.
Oh yeah, you find it in a lot of different traditions, and for good reason. There's more to it than meets the eye.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So tell me more about this concentration on breathing cycles.
Well, basically the text talks about focusing on the entire breath cycle.
Okay, so like inhale, exhale.
Yeah, but the whole thing. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. The whole journey.
I like how they describe it as tracing the breath in the text.
It's a beautiful way to think about it.
It is.
Because it's about cultivating awareness of something we usually just take for granted.
You mean breathing?
Yeah, exactly. And for you, someone who's always looking for practical ways to apply these concepts, this could be a game changer. This technique can help you feel more present and less scattered, which I know is something you're always striving for.
Okay, I can see where you're going with this, but how does simply noticing my breath help with all that?
Well, the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra dives into some fascinating concepts here. It emphasizes that the breath isn't just about oxygen, it's connected to prana.
Prana.
Yeah, it's kind of like this vital life force energy, this energy that flows through all living things.
I've heard of prana, but I'm not really sure I understand it.
It's a big concept, and by tuning into your breath, you're tapping into this deeper energy flow within you.
Okay, now I'm really interested. So how does this prana thing connect to concentration on breathing cycles?
Well, the text suggests that by consciously following the breath, especially those pauses between the inhale and exhale.
Pauses.
Yeah, those pauses, those are important. We create a space for stillness in those gaps.
Stillness, huh? I could use some of that.
It's in those gaps that we can start to loosen the grip of those habitual thought patterns, which, let's be honest, are often what lead to stress and that overwhelmed feeling you were talking about.
So it's less about forcing my mind to be quiet and more about finding those pockets of calm that already exist within the breath.
You got it.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
So by focusing on the entire breath cycle, including those pauses, we're essentially training ourselves to find stillness in the midst of all the chaos.
Exactly. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra suggests that mastering this practice can lead to some pretty profound shifts in perception.
Profound shifts in perception. Okay, now you're really speaking my language.
We'll get to that later. But first, let's talk about some of the more immediate benefits that might resonate with you.
Immediate benefits, huh? I'm all ears.
Yeah.
You know, I love practical tools I can use right away.
Well, this practice is known to be incredibly effective for reducing stress, calming the nervous system, and even deepening your meditation practice.
Oh, wow, that's quite a list. Stress reduction alone would be a game changer.
And the best part, you can do it anytime, anywhere.
No special equipment required.
Nope. Just your breath.
That's amazing. I can already imagine using this during my commute or before a big meeting. I've tried mindfulness apps in the past, but they never really stuck.
I get it. But there's something so appealing about having this built-in tool that's always available, right?
Yeah, it's like my breath is this anchor to the present moment that I can access anytime, anywhere.
Exactly. It's like a secret weapon against the chaos of everyday life.
Okay, you've sold me. But before we get too carried away with the benefits, I'm curious about something. You mentioned profound shifts in perception.
Right.
What exactly did you mean by that? I'm really interested in exploring that idea further.
Well, remember how we talked about prana being this vital life force energy? The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra takes it a step further. It describes the breath as a bridge between our inner world and the outer world, a connection to something much vaster than ourselves.
Hold on. Are we veering into cosmic territory here? Because that's a whole other level of intriguing.
Let's just say this technique is a gateway to exploring some pretty fascinating ideas about consciousness and our place in the universe.
Okay, I'm officially hooked. But before we dive into the deep end, I think it's important to lay a solid foundation.
I agree.
Let's break down how to actually practice concentration on breathing cycles.
I think that's a great idea. Would you like to hear more about that?
Absolutely. I think our listeners are probably eager to learn how to put this into practice too.
Okay, great. Then let's walk them through it step by step. Imagine you're sitting comfortably, maybe in a quiet spot at home.
Or even on their lunch break at work. Right. You mentioned we can do this anywhere.
That's right. Anywhere you can find a moment of stillness. So find a comfortable position, spine straight but not stiff, and gently close your eyes.
Okay, I'm with you. What's next?
Now just bring your attention to your breath. You don't need to control it or anything, just observe it as it is.
So we're not like forcing ourselves to take deep breaths or anything, just noticing our natural breath.
Exactly. Just start by noticing the inhale. Feel the air coming in through your nostrils, filling your lungs, and expanding your chest.
Okay, yeah, I can picture it.
Good. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Pay really close attention to the pause at the top of the inhale.
The pause.
Yeah, that brief moment of stillness before you start to exhale.
I have to admit, I usually just rush right into the exhale without even thinking about that pause.
It's easy to overlook, but that's really where the magic starts to happen. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra places a lot of emphasis on those pauses, those little gaps in the breath cycle. It's in these moments of stillness that we can glimpse a deeper level of awareness, a space beyond all the mental chatter.
I see what you mean. So it's not about forcing our minds to be quiet. It's more about finding these little pockets of calm that already exist within the breath.
You got it.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So we focus on the inhale, then the pause at the top. What's next?
Then just follow the exhale as it flows out.
Okay.
Notice the feeling of your chest contracting, your lungs emptying, the air leaving your nostrils.
Got it. So then what? Another pause, right? At the bottom of the exhale.
That's right. Another opportunity to connect with that stillness. So it becomes this continuous cycle. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra describes it as this beautiful dance between expansion and contraction.
A dance.
Yeah, a rhythm that mirrors the ebb and flow of the universe itself.
Whoa, okay, that's a beautiful image. I'm starting to understand how something as simple as focusing on my breath could connect me to something so much bigger than myself. What happens, though, if my mind starts to wander? Because let's be real, it probably will.
Oh, it absolutely will, but that's totally normal.
Is it?
Oh, yeah. Don't judge yourself. The mind is like a little monkey, always swinging from thought to thought. When you realize your mind has wandered off, just acknowledge it, no judgment, and gently guide your attention back to your breath.
So it's more about redirecting our focus than getting frustrated with ourselves for getting distracted.
Exactly. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes to bring your attention back to the breath.
So we're training our attention like a muscle.
Yeah, you could say that.
The more we exercise it, the stronger it gets.
Right. And as you cultivate this inner stillness, you'll probably start to notice some changes in other areas of your life, too.
Like what kind of changes?
You might find that you're more patient, more focused, more resilient when things get tough. You know, the things that used to trigger you, they might not have the same hold on you anymore.
Wow, that would be amazing. Stress is a big one for me, so if this technique can help me manage that better, I'm all in.
Yeah, stress reduction is definitely one of the most well-documented benefits of breath work. And remember, we were talking about prana earlier. In a lot of traditions, prana is seen as the energy that fuels not just our physical body, but also our mind and emotions. So when we cultivate a healthy flow of prana through conscious breathing, we're essentially nourishing ourselves at a really deep level.
So it's not just about calming the mind. It's about boosting our overall well-being.
Exactly. And this is where the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra gets even more interesting. It suggests that by mastering this simple practice, you can actually start to perceive the interconnectedness of everything.
Wait, hold on. Are we talking about cosmic consciousness again?
Yeah.
Because that still sounds a little out there to me.
It might sound far out there, but the text speaks to this very idea. How focusing on your breath can lead to such a profound shift in perception.
So how is that even possible?
It's about tuning into the subtle rhythms that exist beneath the surface of everything. You know, the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra describes the breath as a microcosm of the universe.
Okay.
So by tuning into the ebb and flow of your own breath, you start to resonate with this larger rhythm of life itself.
I think I understand. It's not about achieving cosmic consciousness in some big dramatic way. It's more about cultivating this subtle awareness that we're all connected.
Right. It's a gradual unfolding, a process of waking up to the deeper reality that's always present, right beneath the surface of our everyday experience.
And it all starts with something as simple as noticing our breath.
It really does.
I love that. This is making me think about something you said earlier about the breath being a bridge between our inner and outer worlds. Can you say more about that?
Sure. Think of it this way. Your breath is the meeting point where your inner world, all your thoughts, emotions, sensations, connects with the outer world, the air, the environment around you. It's a constant exchange, a flow of energy between these two realms.
Okay.
When you become deeply aware of your breath, you become more aware of this bridge, this connection between the internal and external.
So it's like the breath is this portal to both our inner landscape and the world around us.
Exactly. And as you practice this concentration on breathing cycles technique, you might notice that the line between inner and outer starts to blur. You might experience a sense of expansiveness, a feeling of being connected to something much larger than yourself.
Wow, that's incredible. I'm feeling inspired to try this out for myself. But before I do, I have one more question. You mentioned the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra talks about mastering this technique. What does that even mean? Is there an endpoint where we've arrived?
That's a great question. And what's beautiful about this practice is that it's a lifelong journey. There's no finish line, no point where you can say, okay, I've mastered it.
So it's more about continually exploring and deepening our awareness over time.
Exactly. The Vigyan Bhairava Tantra emphasizes that each breath is a unique experience, a fresh opportunity to connect with the present moment. So even if you've been practicing for years, there's always something new to discover.
I love that. It takes the pressure off having to get it right. It's just about showing up and paying attention, breath after breath.
That's the essence of it. And as you keep showing up, you'll likely start to notice subtle shifts in your awareness. You might find yourself becoming more attuned to the nuances of your breath, the way it changes in response to your thoughts and emotions.
Yeah, the more we pay attention to something, the more we notice the subtle details, right?
Precisely. And as you become more attuned to those subtleties, you'll gain a deeper understanding of the connection between your breath and your overall well-being.
Okay, this is fascinating, really. I'm starting to see how this practice can be so transformative. But I feel like we've covered a lot of theoretical ground here. Do you think we could walk our listener through a more practical application of this technique? Something they can try right now?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
All right, so let's make this practical. Let's say our listener only has 5 minutes. Can they still benefit from this?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Even a few minutes can make a difference. Remember those pauses we talked about?
Yeah.
Those are key.
Okay, so let's walk our listener through it. Like a mini practice, what should they do first?
Find a comfortable position. It could be sitting, lying down, whatever feels best.
Do they need a silent retreat or something? Can they be in a noisy coffee shop?
Ideally, a quiet space is good, but you can really do this anywhere. If you're in a busy place, you just acknowledge the sounds around you and then gently bring your attention back to your breath.
So no need to find the perfect meditation cushion.
Nope.
Just be present where you are.
Exactly. And now close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or you can just soften your gaze if that's better for you. And just become aware of your breath.
And then we do that whole inhale, pause, exhale, pause thing.
Right. Just feel that natural rhythm of your breath.
Right.
Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest and abdomen. And pay attention to those pauses between the inhale and exhale.
I'm trying it now. It's crazy how I usually just don't even notice those pauses.
Yeah, we tend to rush through our breath without even realizing it. But those pauses, that's where the stillness is.
It's like hitting the pause button on a movie, right?
Exactly. Everything gets quiet and clear for a moment.
That's a great way to think about it. It's like we're creating this space to just be no mental noise.
Right. And don't worry if your mind starts to wander, that's normal. Just gently bring your attention back to your breath.
No judgment, just redirection.
Right. And even if you only get in a few conscious breaths, that's still a win. You're building a relationship with your breath.
So we're not striving for perfection. We're going for presence.
Yeah.
I think our listeners will appreciate that.
Yeah, we're all so busy these days. It's easy to feel like we can never find those moments of stillness. But this technique reminds us that we always have access to that stillness.
Anytime, anywhere, just by tuning into our breath. It's pretty empowering. We have this tool right here with us, and we don't need a fancy app or a retreat to use it.
I know, right? It's like a practice that's been passed down for centuries for a reason. It's so simple, yet so powerful.
I'm feeling more relaxed already. I'm looking forward to exploring this technique more in my own time.
I hope you do. You might be surprised at what you discover.
Me too. So as we wrap up this deep dive, any final wisdom from the Vigyan Bhairava Tantra you want to share?
Let me think. Oh yeah, the text says, your breath is a ladder to the divine.
That's beautiful.
It really is. It reminds us that even in the simplest act of breathing, we can find that connection to something bigger than ourselves.
I love that. The divine is present in every breath if we just slow down to notice it.
It really is.
I think that's a perfect place to end our deep dive.
I agree.
So to our listener, I encourage you to explore this practice and see what unfolds for you. And remember, even if you only have a few moments, you can always return to your breath, your anchor to the present moment.
Until next time, happy breathing.
And thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.